Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey everybody, I just picked up this Atari 2600. This is a Tele Games version, the 4-button Tele Games version. This was exclusive to Sears Roebuck back in the early 80s, late 70s. There are two versions of this. There's a 6-button version that actually looks a lot like that, probably the exact same molding. And then there's a 4-button here. I've never seen either of them in person until I saw this one. My understanding, looking through it on eBay, is that the 4-button's a little bit rarer, so if that helps anybody. Basically, all we're going to do is clean it up. You know, I saw it and I thought, well, I like Atari. I like their stuff. I'm going to pick this up to basically make a video for you guys. You guys can see how to clean one, so if anybody out there wants to clean up an Atari 2600, they can do it. This will work, obviously, on the Tele Games version that we have right here. It will work on the original 6-button or 4-button Woodies, which is what they're called if they have that wood paneling there, and they're actually by Atari. And it'll work on the Vader model, which is, they look a lot like Darth Vader, so that's why they're called that. It will not, however, work on the Atari 2600 Junior, but perhaps someday I can do a video of this, cleaning this up, although, as you can see, it's not particularly dirty. So yeah, that's all. That's the only reason I really bought it. It was just so you guys could see how to clean one. I've always kind of had a soft spot for Atari. Right here, this system, this Atari 2600 was my first video game system ever. And no, I'm not that old. I'm only 25. And the only reason this is my first video game system is in 1993. I'm begging my mom for a Sega Genesis. I'm begging her for a Super Nintendo. Get me something. You know, all my friends have a Sega Genesis. They have a Super Nintendo. My cousins, same thing. Everyone I know has a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis. And she goes, she just whips this out of a closet, and she's like, oh, you know, one video game system's as good as another. Wrong. But I did have a lot of good times with this. This kind of kept me quiet for about a year, playing games like Space Invaders and Combat. So I just have a soft spot for the Atari 2600. I just think it's a pretty cool system. And if you've never played one, you know, you're kind of missing out. It's a pretty fun system, and I would recommend getting one. And, you know, if you have one already, or if you're thinking about getting one and this convinces you to do it, I'm now going to make it a little bit better by showing you how to clean one. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get a Phillips head screwdriver. It's pretty standard Phillips head screwdriver. And just remove the screws. The Sears Tele Game version, Sears Video Arcade, as it says right there, has 4 screws in it. One there, one there, one there, one there. The other versions, I think, have a slightly different layout. Now, the Vader model is exactly the same. However, the original 6-button Woody here actually has way more screws. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that one's a little bit different, but I mean the idea is basically the same. Just remove the screws. Okay, so once you have your screws out, you're going to kind of lift from the front like this a little bit, and the lid should just kind of come right off. And you'll lift up, you'll see the motherboard there. You should probably hold that, not put too much strain on it. And you'll see this cable is connected there, so don't just like yank it away. What you're going to want to do then is kind of push back on the controller ports a little bit and kind of wedge out the motherboard. It's held together by a couple of points, so nothing, yeah, so check it out. It comes right out. These black plastic pieces right there, you see those little things? They go into these holes here, and that kind of holds it in place. And of course, all these little controller ports and these little switches are held into the back of the plastic molding, so just kind of be careful when you're taking it out. And then take the top, put it to the side, and then what you're going to want to do is kind of put the motherboard down. And you're going to want to take this cable and pull it all the way through so that eventually you get the cable out completely. Okay, now that I have that cable out, and we're basically down to just the 2 main pieces. That's really all it is. And so now we're just going to go ahead and clean it, because you can see inside and there's just tons and tons of decades worth of filth and dust and nastiness. So all we're going to do, real simple, is we're going to run it under some water and scrub it with, you know, a brush with some soap on it, and just kind of get all that out of there from both pieces. So yeah, just go ahead and do that, and well, you can take a look at the results. Okay, I've cleaned it off with, you know, some soap and some water, and already you can see how much better it looks. And so now I'm just going to leave it out to dry, but I noticed a funny sticker here that I did not notice before, and let me read it to you. Stop. Do not attempt game repair. There are no user-adjustable parts inside. Opening of game may damage highly technical devices inside, and such damage would not be covered by the warranty. Servicing available at the nearest Sears store throughout the USA. It's like, I know Americans wrote that, but somehow that just doesn't come off as English. But anyway, I thought that was kind of funny, because obviously we're giving that thing the finger and opening it right up. Besides, I'm pretty sure your Sears warranty on this is long since expired. But yeah, anyway, inside you can see it looks a lot better. So all we're going to do is put the plastic off to the side and let that dry. And, I mean, really dry. Give it a lot of time. So now we bring over our motherboard. I mean, that's it. There isn't much to an Atari 2600. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some compressed air, and we're just going to kind of spray it around and just get some, surface dust off. That's about it. So now that you've gone over it with compressed air, the next thing you're going to want to do is clean the cartridge slot. And to do that, I use a cartridge cleaning kit. These are unfortunately kind of hard to find now, so it's not really a practical, purchase. But what you could do is you could use the credit card method. You take basically like a credit card or any kind of plastic card, wrap it in like felt cloth, and then do exactly what I'm about to do. Now this is the cartridge cleaning kit tool I have to use because that's such a small cartridge cleaning or a cartridge port. But basically what you do is you take this or your credit card method thing, spray some Windex on it a little bit like that, get it wet, and then stick it in the cartridge slot and just kind of go up and down and clean the pins, which is what I'm going to do. And when you do that, you'll see that some dust comes right off. And so just go ahead and go back and forth and make sure those pins are nice and clean. You want to give that a little bit of time to dry. I may also suggest you take some compressed air and kind of blow it in there a little bit and make sure the moisture's out, but you should basically be good to go. So then what you're going to want to do is take more of your Windex, and this is also called window lean in certain parts of the world. It's basically just a glass cleaner that's ammonia based, and in this case we're going to spray some on a Q-tip here like that and just clean around the controller ports because they have dust on them, and just clean the little switches and make it nice and neat, and just go ahead and go around and do that. Any plastic parts around that area, I'd say go ahead and do that, but don't do it on like electronics, obviously. Leave that stuff alone. Okay, so once you clean those, you may also want to clean the plastic around the cartridge slot, and again, just more Windex and Q-tips, and just get some of that dust off there, because obviously you can't wash that stuff with water. And that's kind of it. I mean, other than that, you can just kind of get a good laugh at this manufacturing sticker, 1/8/28. Although I don't know what date that's supposed to be. Obviously, this thing wasn't made in 1928, so whatever. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So now all you got to do is just kind of let everything dry, including the plastic for the big pieces right there. Let that stuff dry, and I mean really dry. Like make sure it's totally 100% dry, no moisture at all of any kind. This thing is completely dry, as are the plastic pieces. So now it's time to put it back together. In order to put it back together, it's not that complicated. First, you have to take that long cable that we took out of the backside, this bottom piece here, and you have to put it through there again. Just kind of thread it through, and then pull on that for a bit. Take me a moment. Apologize. And okay. Then what you got to do is basically take the lid part here and kind of line it up, back in here the way you got it out, which might take you a second because there's like a lot of things you got to line up. Yeah. Okay, and those are in, and the back parts are all in. Okay, now it's not going to hold like this. I'm actually holding the back of it with my hand. The only reason it held in there in the first place was just because it had been there so long. So now what you have to do is take the bottom piece, and well, I found that the easier method here is take the bottom piece like this, and kind of put it on upside down, and then you just kind of slide it over. I'm lining it up right there. Make sure it goes on the inside of this outer ring part. Kind of push down on that, and then you can flip it back over, and there you go. Push it down, and then now all we gotta do is take our 4 screws right here and turn the system over again and put it into the various screw points, 1, 2, 3, 4, or depending on how many screw points yours actually has. Okay, so now I have it back together, and as you can see, I think, well, I mean, you think too, probably, it looks pretty damn good, at least compared to where it was. And not quite factory new, but still nice. But there are other things you can do to improve it in case yours isn't looking this good, or is, you know, looking this good but still has a couple of issues. The first off would be if you have like little white scuff marks, you know, somewhere on the plastic. You know, fortunately this one actually doesn't have any, although I guess unfortunate for you because I can't show you this. But if you have like little white marks or multicolored marks from just, you know, plastic impacts or something, you know, over the years, that always happens. You can get rid of it with Mr. Clean's Magic Eraser. It's just like a white foam powder stuff, and you just kind of rub it on there really, you know, back and forth. It's like a fine sandpaper, and it'll just take off that, you know, white mark, and then you kind of brush it away like this because there'll be a lot of dust left over. You could do that now if the marks are small, although if the marks are bigger, you may want to do it while the system's apart. That way, you know, once the plastic is cleaned off, you can just run the plastic under water again and get rid of all the dust. But again, like I said, this system has no such examples of that, so we're just going to move on to the next process, which is to make it shinier, because as good as it looks, it can look even better. And for that, I'm going to use Pledge. I use Orange Pledge. It protects it from shining, or no, it protects it from dust, and it makes it shinier. This is there's a moisturizing version of Pledge, and a bunch of people said not to use that, so I'll pass that information on to you. Don't use moisturizing Pledge, just use regular Pledge. But anyway, you know, we'll spray some on a paper towel, and then we'll just kind of wipe the system down, and you know, go back and forth like so. And I'm going to keep doing this, and then I'll show you the end result, but I think initially you can already kind of see a nice shine coming out to it. But yeah, again, I'm going to go ahead and do the whole system, the front, the sides, backs, bottom, and I'll show you what it looks like. But make sure to also let it dry for a bit. And there we have it. I've cleaned it off completely with Pledge. Actually, because of the uniqueness of this system with all these like cracks in there, well, not cracks, but that grid design it's got, I actually had to use, of course, Q-tips. I sprayed those with Pledge and just went in there manually. But yeah, you know, I managed to get actually a little bit more dust and grime out of it, so that's cool. So, you know, I think, personally, that this cleaned up really, really well. And, you know, now the ultimate test. Does it work? Because I still don't know that. Though I would bet it does, because Atari 2600s are built like tanks. I've actually never come across one that didn't work. Which tells you something about how well designed they actually were. For all the laughable issues people have with Atari, their systems tend to work. Their controllers don't tend to, but their systems do. Okay, I've got the system all set up, and of course I'm going to test E.T. because it's so, well, it's so infamous. I think everybody knows about this game. So yeah, let's just go ahead and we'll find out. Pop it. Whoa. I guess cleaning it really enhanced the springs. You see that? Watch this. It can actually, there's actually resistance there. Anyway, alright, so now we go ahead, turn it on. Works immediately. That's awesome. Got our controller here. Sorry, I can't, it is not possible to play this with one hand. But yeah, you can see it's moving. Alright, well, that about does it. I mean, we can obviously tell that the system is working, which is fantastic. Yeah, there you go, guys. You know, if you have an Atari 2600, chances are it still works because they really never die. But if you want them to look like they did in, you know, 1977 or 80 or whenever the hell this thing came out, 1928, then yeah, go ahead, do this and clean it up and make it look good again. Thanks for watching, everybody.